Wow, you clicked on this video? Why? Well, maybe because I'm going to tell you why dual sports aren't cool. First, I'm going to tell you why they aren't cool, and then I'm going to tell you why you should not worry about that and why you should consider getting a dual sport anyway. But first, let's talk about why dual sports are not cool. So many people make their buying decisions based on what other people think and feel and what they tell them. Don't get one of those because of this. I know what you need. You need the bike like I got. You need one of those bikes. And I'm not going to talk about brand. I'm not going to talk about style. I'm not going to talk about anything other than why people don't think these bikes are cool. And some of the reasons are pretty legit, but you need to understand them so you can just look the other way and go, okay, it's not a cool bike, but Don says, you need to not worry about that because this is one of those bikes where you can't worry about it. You can't worry about how you look, whether people are gonna think that you're cool, whether or not, you can buy matching gear, whether or not you can find a matching helmet to match your dual sport. All that stuff is silly when it comes to this style of bike. Mostly because nobody cares. Mostly because people look at you and go, that's one of those dirty, filthy dirt bike riders. Why is he riding that motorcycle on the street? But you need to understand what I have come to learn over the last 40 years of riding dual sports. Lots of reasons why you should own one, but I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about why dual sports aren't cool so you can get past all that crap. People buy a motorcycle just to be cool, just to be like their buddy, just to be like that guy they saw in that movie that was doing this on his motorcycle and he was laid back being cool and that cool factor is really enticing when it comes to motorcycles. And when people get that image in their head of what they want to be on a motorcycle, what they want to look like, they have that image and it's really hard to get rid of that image. So that's part of what I'm trying to do today is alter your image about what is cool so you're not so much focused on purchasing that style of bike that's probably not going to make you happy. What I'm focused on today is trying to get rid of all the bullshit so you can focus on the things that are important. And there's nothing more important when it comes to bikes is buying an ugly bike. And when it comes down to it, all dual sports are ugly. And the only people that are going to argue with you are the people that own a dual sport. So those guys think that those bikes are beautiful, and it's kind of hard to argue with them because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but there's not really any dual sports that are beautiful. They're just not good looking bikes. You want a beautiful bike, go buy you something with chrome and not lots of plastic that surrounds it, and great fairings and beautiful design. Ducatis, they're beautiful bikes, they're amazing engineering, and the lines on it, they're just amazing motorcycles. If you want a beautiful bike that's going to fit into a museum someday, go buy a Ducati. Think about the bike that's never going to find its way into a museum. This dirty old banged up, beat up piece of crap that you can bang up and beat up and still get on it and ride it. You may not want to ride it down to the coffee shop and display it for the world to see because most of the people you're going to park next to on a motorcycle don't want you around their motorcycle because your fungus might rub off on them. So first, let's get a few things out of the way. Number one, I'm not insulting anybody, even though you may feel like I'm insulting you. I ride a dual sport. From all the videos that I've made probably in the last decade, you will have seen me riding a dual sport. So this is not a dogging your dual sport video. This is an explanation. If you're thinking about getting a dual sport and you're undecided, this is one of the things that you need to understand, because one of the big purchasing decisions people make is based on the cool factor, and is this bike going to get me laid, and are all my friends going to love this bike? If I don't want to get the wrong bike because I want to be cool. And a dual sport is just simply not cool. The only people that are ever gonna think that you're cool are people that ride dual sports. And to the rest of the motorcycle world, you're an outcast. It's kind of like you're the guy that's riding the trike to the rest of the motorcycle world. You may have some crossover guys. You may have some guys that own several motorcycles, and one of them is a dual sport. So you may run into the Harley guy or the guy on a big gold wing, and they may give you the head nod and give you a wink, and maybe fill you up even. But most people are going to look at you like you're a savage, and maybe you are. I know I'm a bit of a savage, but the purpose of this is to bring some light to the fact that these motorcycles are just not cool. To 99% of the people on planet Earth, these motorcycles are not cool. And I want to talk about the reasons why dual sports are not cool. The first thing you need to understand is dual sports not really what you would think of as a standard style of motorcycle. It's a bastard offspring of street and dirt bikes. It's a standard motorcycle, standard style. So it's a cross between a standard motorcycle and a dirt bike. Knobby tires, big suspension, powerful small motor, and a small package that you can ride on the street. And that's the biggest difference is people don't understand them. Most people look at them and they see a dirt bike, and they see those knobby tires, and especially if it's covered in mud, they're going to think you're doing something illegal. And so that's the big thing, is recognition. People don't even know what the hell it is. Looks like a street bike to the right kind of people. People are looking for turn signals and mirrors and a tag. They're going to identify this as a street legal bike, but most people that don't have a clue just look at it as a dirt bike. So that's the biggest strike. Strike one for most people is it's a dirt bike and you're riding it on the street. How dare you? If they're in the woods, they're going to know. And if they're riding a dual sport or a dirt bike, or they're on a four-wheeler or a Jeep, they're going to know because they've seen these things out there before. But everybody else, 99% of the people on planet Earth are not going to even know what it is. The next big thing, the big strike against dual sport bikes, is they are functional. They are made for a purpose. They're purpose-built motorcycles. They have, unlike most motorcycles, they don't really, they're not pretty. They have a role to perform. So, the primary role is function over form. So many motorcycles today are supposed to be pretty or shiny or fast or loud, or, there's all those things that are more of a form than a function. But dual sport bikes are basically dirt bikes that you can ride on the street legally. But that's the primary reason that they're not very attractive, and I would dare say ugly. And I would even say your dual sport is ugly. So, if you disagree with me, leave me a comment. Maybe I missed that one beautiful dual sport bike. I can't even think of a dirt bike. Anything that's got knobby tires typically is pretty damn ugly, just because it's functional. The primary mode is function. It's got to get you up and down a hill, and it's not pretty. So if you want pretty, buy a Ducati, or there's pretty bikes out there. There's shiny bikes. Get you a bike with some chrome on it if you want pretty. These things are just not pretty, and that's probably the biggest strike against dual sports, is they're just not sexy. And that's a big factor when people are buying motorcycles. Is it sexy? Is it going to get me laid? And they're just not sexy. The only people that are going to think that a dual sport is sexy is a guy that's riding a dual sport. Another dude that's got mud on his motorcycle. That's the only dude that's going to think that you're hot and sexy. And, every once in a while you'll see a female out there riding a dual sport, and she might think you're sexy too. But odds are she's covered up in men that have got are overwhelmed by this unicorn that they've seen out in the woods, and she's got 15 men following her. So your chances with that one unicorn that you see out in the wild are pretty slim. So if you're buying a dual sport or thinking about buying a dual sport to get laid, forget it. Get a big shiny loud machine, and you'll do much better with the women. But that leads us into the next big issue with dual sports and the desire from the opposite sex. Any woman can look at that seat on a dual sport and go, wow, that sure is narrow. It sure is dirty. The bike I'm riding now doesn't even have room for a rider. I couldn't carry one if I wanted to. Doesn't come with rear foot pegs. So there's no real pillion seat. There's no pillion pegs. There's nothing for a second rider. I guess I could put them on the tank and ride them like we used to ride when we were kids. But that's a big strike right there. You're going to run into the problem. You meet a hot chick out in the woods, hiking through the woods, and you want to take her back to your camp. She's going to have to get on that motorcycle and ride back to your camp uncomfortably. And there's lots of women that do. They're hardcore. They're pretty hard. A woman that rides on the rear of a dual sport bike is hardcore. If you find one of those, you should probably put a ring on it and, buy a gun to fend off the other men that are going to be chasing her around, just because they're rare. So only dual sport guys are going to think that they're sexy or cool, and you might have to worry about those guys. One of the things that can make your bike look sexier to the other dual sport guys, if you want to go in that direction, is take the thing out in the woods and thrash it. Beat the crap out of it, run it up against some rocks and some trees, and lay it down a few hundred times. And that really turns me on when I'm looking to drool over somebody's bike. I want to know that you have thrashed that machine. I want to know that you've got 20,000 miles of hard riding through the woods and you've thrashed it. And I want to see that. So, the dual sport bike is going to become sexy to somebody like me when they see that it's beat up. So the more beat up, the better. It's kind of like a hot, sexy woman with a bunch of tattoos. You see those scars from the woods and the how many times it's been laid over. It's kind of like, hey, check out the sexy chick at the bar. She'll put out. For most people hate dual sports because they're not sexy. They're not going to get laid on it. Or they bought one and thought that they were going to get laid because they look cool. They just don't look cool in front of a coffee shop. It's just not a thing. You don't take a dual sport to bike night. When's the last time you saw a dirt covered machine at a bike night? It just doesn't happen. That's not what you do. Overlook the fact that you're not going to get laid. That's what I would recommend. Just overlook that fact that you're never going to get laid because you're riding the dual sport. Unless the woman that you're getting laid by is getting paid or she's riding a dual sport. So there may be some chances you meet a unicorn out in the wild. But good luck. I wouldn't hold your breath. If you want to get laid by riding a motorcycle, go buy a Harley, go buy a Goldwing, go buy a nice sexy sport bike, and that should work out well for you. I've taken lots of women home on the back of a motorcycle, but I don't remember ever putting one on a dual sport, ever. Just never happened. Maybe it's me, I don't know. If you disagree, leave me a comment below. I'd like to hear what you think. I probably missed a few, But I think I got a pretty good overview of why you should realize that dual sports are not cool and that you should probably ride one anyway. I may do some more in the dual sports series because I love dual sports and I think everybody should own one at least once in their life.